Okay, everybody, let's take it from the top.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Hi, ho, everybody. Welcome back to D+, the show about all things Disney. I'm one of your hosts, Griffin Tennell, Griffy D-Pad, and with me, as always, is the wonderful, the amazing Mr. Mitch George. How are you doing?
I'm fucking tired. My socials have been blowing up today. I don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah, it has been wild for you today.
Oh yeah, no. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We have company.
We got company. We are talking Star Wars. And immediately they leave. They run away. They run off into the
I think it's
into
a bit.
the sands.
I
It's a
think
bit.
just
Oh, it's
keep
absolutely a
going,
bit.
keep
But
going.
no, of course, coming back to us.
This is an audio podcast too.
This is such a stupid bit. This is such a dumb bit. Of course, when we're talking about Star Wars, we have to bring back the fantastic Nick Shotgun McPay. Nick, how are you doing?
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we'll have.
It's your robe. All we get is half your face.
It's so bad.
It's an implied robe. Look at, I'm invisible now. It's like an invisible cloak. Whoa.
Why is your cloak green?
Now you see me. Now you don't.
Oh, the clipping
It's the
is
secret Jedi power.
The Discord clipping is so bad. That's the kind of energy y'all are getting on this week's episode. If you're listening to the podcast, go watch the video version. 'Cause
We may clip it out and put it out on social.
we need to clip that.
Bad about that.
Yeah, we are. Oh man, Nick, how are you? How are you doing?
I was gonna say something else than that, but I chose not to. So let me tell you, I'm choosing not to hit the button on the nukes today. Is all I'm gonna say.
Not yet. Let's see where we
there's
get
still
to at
time.
the end of this episode.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Okay, I got some housekeeping to handle before we really start jumping into the chaos. First off, everyone, thank you for listening. Officially, this is our Bad Batch season 3 season finale, all that fun jazz episode. But this is going to be
season.
This is going to be a larger conversation about Star Wars animation as a whole as well. So it should be a pretty fun episode for y'all. Of course, if you are listening to us, head on over to the YouTube version, where you can see our lovely faces and ridiculous bits in full wonderful video fashion. You can check out our
My
other
beard
stuff.
looks great tonight.
And you can check out our weekly episodes coming back again for the newest Star Wars show, The Acolyte. All that out of the way. I'm gonna be honest, I'm thrown by the bit.
All right, so I said things were kind of wild today. That everything was blowing up. Nick, I don't think you've seen this actually.
Probably not. I've not been on
Just
Twitter.
head
much.
to my Twitter real quick and look at the latest post,
Wait.
or any social platform.
See,
actually.
this is something that people do, and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna get your reaction."
It
That's
wasn't
exactly what
intentional,
this-
I swear, it just kind of lined up perfectly.
Let me tell you, whether it's intentional or not. Let me tell you more. He's coming after you, buddy.
Don't
Okay.
mind me as I quickly
Vamp while I look
If you
at
want to
Twitter.
also see what Nick is seeing, although it won't be as in real time, you can check out all of our socials. Griffin over at Griffy Dpad, that's GRIFFIDPAD. Me all over the internet at Mr. Mitch George. Nick all over the place at Shotgun McPain. Links will be
Maury's coming after you, buddy. That's all I'm gonna say. Holy shit, congrats. What the fuck? What the shit? Oh my god, I forgot if you guys swear on this podcast, so I'm so sorry. If
Oh,
I
we swear a
fucked it
lot.
up.
It's fine.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Richard M. Sherman, then. That's
Yeah,
what we're
basically.
talking about, right?
Yeah, no. The Maury joke being that my wife and I are expecting our first child.
Yay.
Woo.
Expect a lot more of me watching things like Bluey and
We finally do the Bluey episode.
Bluey!
we're gonna have to do a Bluey episode
Dude,
eventually.
I like no joke was watching so much Bluey the other day, and my favorite episode of Bluey, and it gets me to cry every time, is camping. I
Oh my God, yes.
love that
I've
episode.
not seen a single episode. I've heard
When
that
you get to
dogs
camping,
can see
it will-
Bluey, so I kind of just wanted to watch it with our dog, but now I just have an excuse.
Oh wait, like actual dogs can see?
Yeah,
Apparently,
Bluey.
like,
the
dogs are
reason that
colorblind,
the,
but blue, yeah.
the reason that the Bluey, like the characters are colored the way they are, is because dogs can see that. It can differentiate. between the
That's
characters.
incredible. I didn't know that. That's incredible.
The show's great. The
That's
show's
We put it on
wonderful.
one time and he didn't care. But I was
Yeah.
watching Clipped, the new docu series based on the
Man, you really like this fucking docuseries.
Douglas Sterling controversies around the LA Clippers in the early 2010s. Available on Hulu and Disney Plus, depending on your region of choice. And there was a cat, and he reacted to the cat that was just this Siamese cat with no hair. But Bluey's just like, I don't really give a fuck. So
I'm so sorry I laughed. I saw the Sopranos edit that the Starfield edit that I put in here like months ago. And it got me. I was like, who did that?
Oh.
get back to talking about Star Wars.
There
maybe?
are no rails to this
I mean,
podcast. We all know
the
it.
Sopranos thing that I did bring up does have Star Wars in the background.
That's related. Let's talk about Bad Batch. Bad Batch is finally over. Kind of wild.
Is it finally is the word? Is that the
I
word?
would
kind of
use the
upset.
word.
I kind of want more.
I mean,
I don't know if I want more, but 3 seasons.
I don't want. I want more Omega. I'm not sure if I want any more of the rest of the batch. If that
I
makes
think we'll
sense.
get really.
But-
I like the
I
batch.
like Hunter.
Well, it's more just how the show ends. I would love
Yeah.
that story, but
Yeah.
I do think we'll
Just to
get
stop
that
there.
story. No, I think we'll get a continuation of Omega's story.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the same level of like a Rebels style show that's just within a different time frame with sort of similar characters, but
hear me out. You ready for this? It's just going to be called. We're going to get another like Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, but it's going to be Tales of the Rebellion, and it's going to be 3 episodes about Omega.
Well, so it's Omega, right? So remember, I don't know if you.
or
I'm gonna take you
Omega,
back.
depending on who's saying it.
I'm gonna take you back to a place, right? When we're unveiling Bad Batch. Okay, ready? Remember on Twitter? Remember when it was called Twitter? What a fucking concept, right? So we're going back to Twitter, and it's like I don't remember when this was revealed, but let's say it was like 2020. I'm just gonna put it in that category or something. If you guys
Sounds
know,
right.
you can
The
try.
Honestly,
it.
some- Something like
started in
that.
21.
So yeah, when there is, I think it was like the big reveal with like a bunch of like X-Men and all the stuff that Marvel was doing and like all that during 2020 and blah blah blah. Remember with the logo? Remember, I'm gonna put in your brain the logo popping up on Twitter and like maybe there's such thing as a seeing what you want to see in a logo. And I do believe that there's a good chunk of us on Twitter that thought it was called The Bad Bitch.
Oh my
It is,
god, I
by
forgot
the end
about
of it.
that.
And all I'm going to say is if they go to Mega like at like 40, it's like The Bad Bitch and she's ready to take shit out. I'm ready. Like,
So you were right there. So looking at this series as a whole, Filoni started developing the concept of Clone Force 99 and the Bad Batch clones as part of the production of the Netflix season of the Clone Wars between when it got canceled and got picked back up by them. But when Clone Wars was canceled, Rebels was prioritized, but Lucasfilm said they still had some unreleased episodes of Clone Wars. A few of those, at least from a story reel perspective, were these 4 episodes on Bad Batch. So when Disney announced that they were going to do a final season of Clone Wars for Disney Plus after the acquisition, they included or they finished those 4 episodes that were the Bad Batch arc with the intention of spinning it off. But it wasn't officially announced as a Disney Plus production until July of 2020.
yeah. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was like the lineup of everything. Like, they had a bunch of different things like Pixar and Marvel.
I think
and
this was
everything
a
that they
Star
were
Wars Day
unveiling.
announcement.
But I think it was just like a wake up Yeah, maybe Star Wars Day.
And they kind of
And
kept
then
doing
it's just
that.
on
Like
Twitter.
we got season 1 and like season 2 and season 3 were like, "Hey, happy Star Wars Day! This comes out in like 2
true.
weeks."
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a Star Wars Day announcement or if it was one of those like Disney Plus Day announcements.
That's what I was thinking, but
I know season 2 was a May the 4th thing. Like, surprise,
Yeah.
this comes out in 2 weeks.
I think they're right. I think
Here.
that
Headline article.
I'm pretty sure it was like that was the
Because
only thing.
season 1 released for May the 4th.
Yeah.
Yes. So looking at this, it looks like it was just a random Tuesday in
Okay.
July. They're just like, hey,
Yeah.
this is happening.
just
set to
remember-
premiere in 2021.
I'll never
Yeah,
forget
it
that,
looks like it
looking
was
like the
just a
bad bitch.
deadline exclusive announcement.
I don't know,
Nothing
it's wild to
else.
see like where we've come from from the
Yeah.
original to now. Like
Well, just
the first one
from
being,
the
like-
theatrical release of a Clone Wars animated film. Like that was wild.
yeah, that
And it was like
happened.
really like those 3 episodes and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like where we
It's
ended
still up
with
there as
this
a movie on Disney
show, like
Plus.
even just the show alone, like starting with this more episodic format of let's have fun with these characters to let's tell frankly a heart-wrenching story.
Which
That
I
bridges
feel
a
like is
gap.
where that. Go ahead, sorry.
Like it bridges that gap between two of the two timelines of sagas within Star Wars. Is just like the perfect synonym for every single time Dave Filoni does animation in Star Wars.
Not just animation. I feel like Filoni has this knack to take some of the worst arcs in all of Star Wars and make them relevant. None more apparent than the main arc of this last season of Bad Batch, which is the development of the Sith cloning technology, right? The whole thing that drove, like, the whole, MacGuffin of Episode 9, as, awful as that is. I feel like Filoni is, at times, trying to redeem these things that he didn't necessarily have his fingers on, but he's just looking to make the entire canon of Star Wars more cohesive and more complete. He did that with Clone Wars and bridging the gap between episodes 2 and 3. Episode 2 at the time being considered largely, critical and not commercial failure, but critical failure. It was a low point in the Star Wars series as a whole.
What's this
And we
at the
saw
time?
very
We all still hate episode 2.
and we saw very similar reactions to episode 9. And the fact that we're now going back to this period of time between the prequels and the original trilogy that is adding credence and adding weight and adding context to that, curveball that we got thrown in episode 9. I honestly want to go back and rewatch The Rise of Skywalker. As much of a mess that it is, I want to watch it again with this context. It almost feels like this season of Bad Batch did the Avengers Endgame effect on Thor the Dark World, if that makes sense. Where a future project made something that I thought was unredeemable, redeemable.
We need a counter for the amount of times we bring up Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, I
It's a
think
good
that
comparable to episode 9, to be honest, with regards to the MCU and the way it was regarded.
I don't disagree, but I don't agree. I don't think. But I don't think that's anything.
That's
we
not a
should-
conversation for today.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's a whole other
talk a lot.
podcast.
But I think that
How War of the Dark World was redeemed. I want to have that. I want to
Yeah.
have that. So,
I don't think it really was redeemed. They're just like
we'll get to it on another
Yeah.
episode. Nick, Star
Yeah.
Wars.
It's more of I
No,
think
I
like
just-
the interesting thing is like I feel like Filoni took that thing of like, okay, a clone of Palpatine is dumb, but the creation of a clone of Palpatine might be somewhat interesting.
well, this is all like extended universe stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Palpatine cloning himself isn't necessarily anything new in terms of the overall Star Wars canon.
No, but that
But,
context, adding that context to
that-
it, or potentially
Where we're
the
at
way
right
that they-
now with Star
where
Wars,
we're-
I think
yeah,
that's
where we're at the end of Bad Batch, I could see whatever this follow up may or may not end up being if they do an Omega focused, not necessarily like Omega led, but like part of a crew. If they do an Omega project, we'll just call.
I mean,
it. I could see
obviously
them
there's
continuing to explore this narrative.
obviously they're still working on it during after Palpatine's death, right? Because and they're still in the semi-early stages because in one of the I think it's season 2 of Mandalorian, we get those cloning facility and really hinting. I think it's season 3 as well. Did some hinting on the cloning.
Yeah, and like
and
season
that kind of being
1 has the
shut
facility
down.
where they realize why the Empire wants
Filoni
Mando.
really likes clones.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
what we're getting at.
Very,
Yeah.
and for good reason. We got some really great stories from that. Like, I think the story
Yeah.
of both. We have a couple interesting lines of story here. Whether it's what do you do when your sole purpose is either fulfilled or warped beyond recognition here, but it's also very much that we were a family because we were forced to be. But also, we found why we are a family, and now we have this kid in the mix. And I feel like the Bad Batch just had all of these different elements that could only happen with a group of clones. That is really what made the show endearing to me and why I, frankly, cared at all.
Yeah, the found family is something that rings true throughout basically all of Filoni's work. And I think that really works.
Keep
Even
doing
though
it,
it's kind of
Filoni.
a
We love it.
Yeah, even though it's like a trope now of Filoni's, like big man take care of little girl, or big man take care of little green guy, or big man take care of other big man. Like it's a Star Wars trope at this point. But it works. I think that found family is why we love Anakin and Obi-Wan so much, right? Like you were a brother to me, Anakin is something that is hits a lot of Star Wars fans a certain way, and I think that it's like poetry, it rhymes, like that sort of thing. I think it works for a reason. Yeah, and like exploring that through different means, like with the clones, like, oh, this is like there's Luke and Leia where they're actual family. There's Obi-Wan and Anakin. They're like found family, and then here's the clones where they kind of are family, but they're not really family, and
I mean,
so
they're blood relatives, technically.
yeah. So it's like it is really fun to see like the scrappy crew. I do really like me some scrappy crews, is what I'm going to say.
Well, let me introduce you to Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which is entirely, what if we take Scrappy Crew and turn it into a story?
Honestly,
When is that coming? Because I feel like that's
December,
like
I
on the
think.
horizon.
Yeah, December, I think.
Yeah, if I remember right, it's in that old Mando time slot.
Which would make sense because we're not getting a Mando season 4 or
Right now,
4,
maybe.
right?
Yeah, no, because we're getting the movie.
we're getting Mando and Grogu movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think all this talk about like the core cast, like the core cast is great, but I think like also everybody else in the show is great. Like I found in myself
Yeah.
in season 3, in particular, really liking the story for Emery, the other female clone. Of like, okay, so we're gonna get the story of this other clone who has been in the Empire for presumably most of her existence. I don't think we ever know when Emery was created clone-wise. Correct me
Yeah,
if
we
I'm
don't
wrong.
get a lot of context. We know Omega, they intentionally removed her age rapidly thing like the rest of the clones have. Whether or not they did the same for Emery is unknown. So
But like
I'm
not
just
very
gonna
much
assume
in
she's a regular clone.
not really there much in season 3, but having what can I never remember her name? Fennec. Like Fennec gets so much more story in the Bad Batch than she does in the Book of Boba Fett and Mando.
Yeah,
And-
I think what's so great too about Bad Batch is that besides like the interpersonal stories, we also get stuff like the questions that like of diplomacy during the time of just after the start of the Empire. You look at like the trade codes or the chain codes, like in that getting into use, and like the iron grip of the Empire really matting down so quickly. Like it really builds the world and the planning that Palpatine had to do just in general to have this all happen all at once, you know? And then on top of that, you know, this is a different regime. The clones that are disposable now, and they're always meant to be disposable. They're always meant to be a scapegoat. And you see like kind of this sort of disdain that, you know, someone like Tarkin has for clones and wants to shut them down, you know, and wants to like, why are we even dealing with this? Clones can't do what a regular human can, and sort of the discrimination that they get. And I really love something I really loved about Obi-Wan, and there was this little bit that we got of clones mentioned in Obi-Wan, is the fact that you have this clone who's just like on the street, like, hey, like, I need money to survive because I'm not useful anymore for what I was trained to do. The only thing that I was trained to do. And it's like kind of that commentary on veterans in general, you know, like how we send them to die, and if they don't, they come back and we don't do anything for them, you know.
And I think this season did better than any other Star Wars media of diving into this, right? We get this whole thing of the Senate trying to figure out what the clone retirement program looks like.
Yeah,
you gotta
season
think,
2.
You know, or
That was season 2, Senator Rampart. That was one of my favorite stories, like in the show, and it was actually kind of disappointing that they didn't continue that into season 3. But
yeah, like I thought that.
But they were
was
still
really
kind of
well
telling
fleshed
that
out.
story, like, yeah, what do we do now? But even season 3, it was the manipulation of those people with this whole additional program of these very select clones that were made to be these like specialized assassins,
mind wiped assassin
like
clone things.
It's not just casting them aside, it is manipulation and using
It's
these
reprogramming and
like,
aiming in another direction, right?
it is the Empire being peak evil bad guy Empire.
Right.
Also, not related. I didn't realize that Skeleton Crew was in the same time frame in the same shared universe as all the other Mandoverse stuff.
Yeah, it's over. If I remember right, it's over
It's
where
the-
Ahsoka and Sabine are trapped too.
Well, and
Yeah,
it's,
well, it's all that's connected, right?
that one plant pirate in
Oh, and Mando.
in season 3 of Mando, I think is supposed to be
That
the bad
sounds
guy or
right.
whatever.
He looked cool, so
That-
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this show just in general is like, it's so smart. It's so clever with what it does. Having us, like, I don't think any of us could have predicted to like be rooting for Nala Se before this show existed. Like
The
a
one
character
thing
that's
they
largely
did-
unimportant.
Yeah, like the one thing they did that I didn't expect them to do with this season of Bad Batch, I'm really surprised they left Tech dead. I'm glad they did,
Yeah.
but I fully expected this big reveal. Oh my god, he was captured and turned into one of these master assassin clone things.
Oh yeah, same.
And I'm so glad they did. And it adds so
Dude,
much more weight to that sacrifice.
The moment
in
when
season 2.
the moment when Omega puts down Tech's glasses in like the museum area
On the dash.
was just like heart wrenching to me.
So good.
It was just like, no, we're just accepting this. Like the first episode of this, I was like, okay, so we're gonna talk about this, right? We have to talk about this. Nah.
No one wants to talk about it.
No one wants to
Everyone
talk
has
about
split
it.
up. You've got these dueling storylines between what Hunter and Wrecker are up to, and who's the other dude? Robot Hand.
Echo.
Echo. Yes, thank you. The stuff with Echo and Rex. I mean, going back into animation, I'm really glad that they did explore more of this retired clone stuff with Rex in Rebels, but maybe we'll get to that, maybe we won't. But looking at the way this season started of having that separation, and I really the release cadence of this was really smart, where I think it was the first 3 episodes released together, which was that arc of, okay, they're separate, and here's how we're bringing everything back together. And then the series or the season is off to the races at that point. I thought that was a really smart decision on their part, especially with how long the season was. It's hard to imagine that this season started in like February, and I know we're late getting to it, but like we're recording this at the beginning of June. It's a long season.
We've had
It's
a
very
lot of episodes we've
traditional
had to put
season
out.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, just in terms of the number of episodes of this season, it was a more traditional cartoon season than a lot of these Disney original shows, and I think that's been the case with Bad Batch on all 3 seasons. I think this was the shortest, but only by like an episode or two.
Yeah, it's
so
it's
been
by one
interesting
episode.
One, yeah.
And that last episode is extra long, so it doesn't really
It was basically
count.
just 2 episodes. But even still, it felt more the length of a traditional cartoon season or season of a cartoon show, where you look at something like X-Men 97 that we just got through, and that was a very focused, very concise 10 episodes. 10?
Nailed it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I like
really tough.
I like the 15
we record
episodes.
these things late because Griffin's on the West Coast. I'm falling asleep, but my brain still works in some ways.
I like the 15 episode format. I also love that they were like, no, we're using all 15 of these episodes to tell a straightforward beginning to end story. This isn't Monster of the Week like the first 2 seasons were. Like, no, here's the
It was
beginning of the
much more
story, here's the end of the
serial.
story. Like,
Yeah.
a lot more, like, we talk about this a lot in
Um,
X-Men of, like, I vastly prefer a show that tells a single story throughout an entire season rather than individual stories each episode.
Yeah, this was
So-
far more focused than either previous season of Bad Batch, and even going past that, far more focused than anything we've gotten from Filoni in animation with Rebels, with Clone Wars. A lot of people that I talk to about Star Wars animation complain that they don't have the time to commit to watching the Clone Wars, and that's when I'll point them at an article or a list or whatever of these are the episodes you have to watch, not necessarily all the filler. This season was no filler. It was just banger after banger after banger after banger, and it didn't take the foot off the pedal, and it nailed the end of this arc for these characters, which I really appreciated.
I will say another thing this season I think did really well that I was actually frankly kind of surprised that it did so well was how it handled cameo characters. I think Star Wars more than most really struggles when it does cameo characters. Because at times you'll get it where it's the Book of Boba Fett where we have the entire Mando episode in the middle of it for some reason. Or they'll just be off to the side
that was
like
the
in the
right-
background.
That was
like-
the right call, but Book of Boba Fett was not the most.
Yeah, but
engaging,
Mando is
and
not the point
we
of that
kinda
show
needed
still.
the Mando. No, I know.
But the way that they handled a couple of their major cameos here, like, really their major cameos are all bounty hunters. Like, it's Cad Bane, which I thought was used super well, and it was great with explaining M Count. I love that they never say Metachlorian in this entire show.
Probably the right call.
We had Ventress, which was... I thought it was fun, but it wasn't my favorite episode of the season.
Yeah, it is really weird. The Ventress episode was really weird, especially because they relied on that so heavily during the marketing, and she's just in it for the one episode to say, "Hey, I'm here. You guys have a force wheeler on your hands," and then she leaves.
Bye.
Like,
I wonder if that was the backdoor pilot into whatever the Omega story is going to grow into.
Omega and
Either
Ventress
in
buddy
live
cop
action
movie.
or animation.
that would be
Honestly, I'd be
sick,
down
though.
for it.
Yeah.
Or even if it is just tales of the Resistance, and it ends up being 3 episodes on Omega that immediately lead into 3 episodes on Ventress as she joins the Resistance or something to that extent, I think could be really fun to explore. I want to go back to that for a second though. The idea of we've had Tales from the Jedi or Tales of the Jedi, we've had Tales of the Empire.
Empire.
So I would really love to see this continue, this Tales of series, not necessarily going back to Jedi or Empire, but like Tales of the Resistance sounds really cool. Tales of the New Republic, Tales of the High Republic, Tales of the Sith, and telling some of those legacy stories. I think could be really fun, a fun way to continue to explore this style of animation, because at this point we've got 15 plus years of
Yeah, at
this
this point-
animation style. Like they've got it nailed, so they might as well keep using it for some of this short form storytelling.
This feels like as good a transition point as any, so I'll just say if you've listened to us over the last 30 minutes, go watch Bad Batch. It's great. Yeah,
We've only spoiled most of it.
I feel like at this point, going forward, if we're going to get animation, it's only going to be in those Tale styles.
I'm
Like-
okay with that, honestly.
Or
as much as
or Lego, but we don't
Yeah.
count those.
yeah. As much as I
Could we though?
was
Because
not.
isn't there like we're getting Darth Jar Jar canon in a Lego thing, and I'm all about that.
Yeah, but
We
they
have
found a
to
way to
on that one,
canonly
that's
make it non-canon, so
Yeah.
they don't get
Yeah.
the points.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of okay with that though, because as much as I wasn't a fan of Empire, of Tales of the Empire, I was such a fan of everything that was Tales of the Jedi. And I think that, like, my one biggest problem, and the thing I do like in some aspects, because it gives us, points to flesh out the characters, and one of the things I don't really like in Filoni's storytelling is the fact that he does just take these weird detours and to be pulpy, which is fine. That is what Star Wars was also ultimately put on to do. But I think he doesn't choose. I think that making it breaks the tone when you make it pulpy and then serious through line story and then pulpy again. I think it really derails what's been said. But then when you have that limited number of episodes like Tales of the Jedi or Tales of the Empire, you do get to kind of the heart of things, which is why I think, the Dooku episodes in Jedi are just so incredible. And so are the Ahsoka episodes.
I mean, the
But,
Ahsoka episode of like her training only to use that training against the actual clones is fantastic storytelling in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the Dooku, and Dooku's feels more like just a regular episode of Clone Wars, but it's still a fantastic story. Like, I want more of those.
It really it gives it room to actually have meaning and have exploration of what's going on and what is actually being tackled. Like with Dooku's kind of seeing the Jedi for who they are, but also not ultimately going down the right path for it. But at the same time, like, hey, this shit ain't working. Like, I think when we have those meaningful stories and through lines, I think it works the best, and I think that's why Dooku's one is the best. But I think, like Empire definitely struggled. I don't think I'm a person that really likes Morgan Elsbeth as a character. But that's just me. She just wasn't for me. I do really like Barriss, and I just wish that they kind of had like a mini series for Barriss rather than tackling. Like, I feel like these are to more explore, even though we've had time with Barriss, like to more explore like characters we really already know or we know nothing about, like absolutely nothing about. So like, I think like a Tales of the Empire with General Grievous would be great. Like, I think a lot of people, like, he's such a mystery. I think some of that stuff, let's keep it a mystery. Like the Yoda stuff, let's keep it a mystery. I think it adds some mystique. But some of the stuff I think can really add to the overall characters. And then we watch what the great thing about these animated TV shows are. We watch the animated TV shows, and it brings cadence to what's happening in like the movies. Like you watch Clone Wars. You look at episode 1, 2, and 3 more differently. You're watching Rebels, you're looking at like Rogue One differently. It's Star Wars, like the original trilogy differently. I think that something that the animation does very well is to add character to these characters, and then add some more from the certain point of view. I treat it like that. So I think if we get like more of these shorts, I think it's gonna be an overall win for Star Wars animation.
Yeah, I would love
feel like
shorts.
they're
I would
gonna go
love
back and-
miniseries, but I'm not sure how much animation we're gonna get at this point. I feel like the live action is successful enough to the point, and like obviously there will always be this hang up that people have about animation, which sucks because some of the best stories that we get are animated.
I do feel like I got to go back and rewatch Tales of the Jedi because that came out at a really weird time where it was at the tail end of my first trip to Galaxy's Edge. So like I had it downloaded and watched it all on a flight. Like that was not the way to watch that show.
You gotta rewatch it. That show is
really do.
is amazing. Like, I like that we can use it to flesh out characters and flesh out the world more. I totally want to see that. I have a dozen story ideas I would love to see. But like, I think the big thing for me in all of this, with Tales of the Empire and with the Bad Batch season 3, is it very much feels to me like a swan song to Star Wars animation, which has its goods, its bads. But I think animation is such a special place for Star Wars to be in, because very frankly, it will always be the case where you can tell stories in animation that you can't necessarily tell in live action. And that line is certainly blurred with the power of CG, but I don't know. Part of me just feels like it's
still
ending.
a space. Like part of me feels like there's still a space for Star Wars to exist in animation, and I think the primary driver to that is the success of X-Men '97. I think there is room in the Disney ethos to push an animated show that has the same credence. I know we haven't seen the same level of adoration for Star Wars animation, but I don't necessarily see this as the door closing. I wouldn't be surprised if whatever this Omega thing is, if there is an Omega thing, if it were live action, if it took place during the Mando timeline and we got everybody Mandoing everywhere with Mando and Grogu. If we get a scene of Omega and Grogu, I might die. That being said, I don't think that there's any reason to say whether it's, going back to Clone Wars or doing something that's much more a different aesthetic, a different style of storytelling, more concise, more focused, more to what we saw with season 3 here, or what you see with something like X-Men '97, or if it goes more the anthology route, which we've seen Disney go to time and again with things like What If. So, there's still space for animation.
Just a space. And my problem is I just Disney does that thing where it's like, oh, we're going to send it to the kiddie stuff. Like Young Jedi Adventures exists. It's a great kids show.
I'm not gonna lie. I've started walking through the toy section of various WalMarts when I'm at them. The amount of Young Jedi shit that is just everywhere is kind of ridiculous.
Have you seen any of the designs for that show? They are made for toys.
Oh yeah.
One of the characters is literally just a teddy bear, and I stand by that.
I mean, one of the best characters in all of Star Wars is just a big teddy bear. His name is Chewbacca, and you put some respect on that name.
Teddy bears that rip your arms off.
Yeah, but they also give great hugs. Chewbacca gives a
Chewbacca does give good hugs.
Telling you, Nick, you should be going to Disneyland. Get that Chewbacca hug.
Nah, maybe, but nah. Yeah, I think the other thing that's lacking, I do really want animation to stick around 100%. I just kind of wish that we haven't really got, besides Visions, we haven't really got that much different animation styles, right? Like, give me an animation style more akin to something like X-Men '97 was. Give me to something that's like a traditional animated, I think going back to a Genndy Tartakovsky style of animation, I think would be great for that. I think that we're just not, they're not diversifying that those abilities enough. One, I think because that hand-drawn type animation probably costs a little bit more, especially with software with 3D models and everything. And let's face it, not a lot of people are watching animated Star Wars shows unless they're Star Wars fans, unless they're already in that cycle and really, maybe some, I have kids, but even them, they're not watching Bad Batch. They're not watching Clone Wars. Those are still in the in-between too edgy for little kids and too kiddish for adults, or that's a lot of people do say it's kiddish. I don't believe that, but
I was gonna say here's 3 seasons of television that's largely about PTSD.
Right, really, and exploring those ideas, and I think it's an overall barrier. Yeah, it's an overall barrier. Yeah, it's an overall barrier just for people in general that I think needs to get removed, and it's still so. Even with these huge productions that are something that in the recent years that are something that are a general audience could snatch up, like a Spider-Verse, I just don't think that we're there yet where a general audience really cares about animation the way that a lot of animation fans see. which sucks. But I do think that there is still a place for Star Wars animation. I can't, as much as I do like the style that they finally hit with the Clone Wars and Tales of the Jedi and Bad Batch and all that. I think that we need to kind of diversify the variety, or the diversify what's being put on screen, like really have something with a different feel. Otherwise it just feels like, okay, that's another Clone Wars style show, which is great, but when it's the only thing to eat.
Okay. I've got the pitch. Okay. I think I found the answer to all of our questions, in that you take a character from this IP that is beloved. You take something that's different, but still Star Wars related in terms of the animation, and you give us something that's very marketable. Okay. It's called Star Wars or...
Did he also cut out for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a bit.
He was going to say Star Wars Orgy.
See, I thought we were going for an Origins Wolverine joke.
Welcome to the Star Wars Orgy animated special.
The power just flickered.
Oh, that was not a bit.
And
I really thought that was a bit.
on my phone. I probably should have warned you that was a possibility before we started because of the thunderstorms, and I didn't. So that's where we're at.
I feel bad now.
So, Mitch, I'm gonna pick up. He's gonna get it. Oh my god! You thought the bits were gonna come from me, and here we are. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, Mother Nature herself has taken into account that bits need to happen, and I respect that.
So beautiful.
Now, for me, if we're gonna use animation still, like first off, we should still use animation. But frankly, I would love to see High Republic stuff in animation.
Yeah, for sure.
High Republic, a lot of people will now be learning about it for the first time via the Acolyte. And I've only recently started jumping into it, the Acolyte actually being my jumping off point. I got these books. They've been sitting on my bookshelf, have not touched them. But I would love to see something like that. Like, animation has a great place in Star Wars history. Like, it only feels right to keep using them.
Yeah, I think that honestly, the animation so far has either been one-offs, or it's been a connected story within the overall Clone Wars canon, right? And I think that's something that is so refreshing about things like Andor, things like the Acolyte, are that it's a standalone thing. Like, we don't have to know the Skywalkers, or they don't even mention a Skywalker most of the time. I think that, and something that I think a lot of fans have echoed for a long, long time, is the fact that we want a variety of stories. We want different things that aren't even like tied to the Skywalkers. Like, obviously they're a big part in a certain era, right? So like we can only get away from them so much. However, if you're doing like a smuggler story, like maybe it gets like the Skywalkers get brought up maybe once, like maybe the Skywalkers get brought up, like it's.
Dude, I would love it if it's just like a passing line about the Skywalkers and the Falcon,
right?
And it's like that's it. That's
I think
like
a rather like a adult show that's a smuggling show, but kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess. But like more of like what do you do when you're stranded on going through the galaxy, picking up bounties or any number of like spice freighter or just like living that normal life. What is that normal life happening there? Or just even like,
well, we're kind of gonna be getting that soon with Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah, exactly.
And like
true.
the reason why I'm so excited about that is because there's no relation to the Skywalkers. There's like minimal relation to anything that already exists. Like that's why we loved Mando. That's why we love a lot of this weird stuff. It's why Jedi Fallen Order was so beloved. Like we can do
But
that.
even that had Darth Vader. You know.
Yeah, it used
I'm
them
talking like
extremely well.
let's.
But
Yeah, let's just like go further away, like and make these new characters.
we have a whole new
you know,
whole new galaxy to explore now. Let's talk about
right.
that.
Exactly.
And the thing with Mando, and again, this gets back to Star Wars Origins Yoda, which I tried to pitch before Mother Nature said.
I knew it was an Origins joke.
It
had to
wasn't. It wasn't
was
Star
Studio
Wars
Trigger.
Origin.
No, it was Star Wars Origins Yoda by Studio Trigger.
I don't want an origin
I
for
don't want an
Yoda.
Origin. Yeah,
I know you don't, but that's the
Literally
thing. When you take
anybody
the character
else.
that people care about. You got something like Grogu, which gave you a marketable character that had ties to an existing character. So unless you're going to go with like, I don't know, Anakin's dad and how he was a deadbeat and it wasn't actually a divine birth, it was actually him being a deadbeat dad and just ditching them to go pick up some blue milk or some shit. Like, I don't know
mean,
what you do.
My pitch is still High
Hey,
Republic. I think High
that's
Republic
blue-
is perfect for.
That's blue milk and death sticks to you, son.
You know where they have blue milk, Nick?
Yeah.
Disneyland.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of disappointing.
They also have it in stores now.
Yeah,
I
I
saw-
saw that. That's
I
weird,
refuse
but
to
we
buy
don't have
that.
that up here.
I refuse to buy it, but like part of me is like, what if I did?
Yeah.
I
What if
might-
we find out that it's what if we find out that it's Yoda piss? Like, that's why there's no Yoda species around
Canonically,
anymore.
that's why we don't see Yoda urinate
There's
ever.
there's milk.
There's milk and Yoda.
There's been milk in Yoda's hog.
Oh my god. God damn it.
So this might be
Listen-
Nick's last Star Wars related
Wait,
appearance on this
Nick,
show.
it's been fun having you here.
So we got the nipple juice from the Last Jedi. What can we do to one up that? I'm just saying.
There is nothing.
Beloved character Yoda.
Piston in a cup.
900 years.
Now, I think we can tell. I think there's more stories to tell. I'm just gonna try to push through this the best I can. But yeah, I feel like this era of Star Wars, like I feel like we're done here. I feel like we've told enough here. We can get out of the Clone Wars now. We can talk about other shit. Because as much as I love the Clone
agree.
Wars stories, like, and I love the story, like almost all the stories we're getting right now are this time between it's the time of the Empire, between the rise and the beginning of the rebellion. There's more to tell there. I would love to see some more like sequel era stories. I say that knowing full well I never watched that show. Like
Which one?
Resistance, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched like one or two episodes, and I don't need someone doing a bad impression of Apocalypse
Oscar
from X-Men Apocalypse to just give BB-8 to some random kid who's in flight school. It's like, nah, this ain't it, B.
Like I would love
Inside Llewyn Davis.
more
Nah,
stories. in
I
different
just
eras.
rewatched all of the Fox X-Men movies in preparation for Deadpool and Wolverine. So Oscar Isaac is Apocalypse. I couldn't remember his name. That's why I said Apocalypse.
Not
It's
the
where I
fucking
went.
dad in Dune.
I mean, not Moon Knight in Moon Knight.
Well,
Not
that's
Spider-Man
I also-
2099.
Yeah.
I also
true.
haven't seen Dune.
Come get your Dina. Sorry, Lisa Algorithm. Anyway, sorry.
Dude, one of my favorite things after seeing the Dune movies was someone who had never experienced anything Dune at first was like, man, Star Wars took a lot from Dune. And it was like, where have you been?
Yeah,
They're not subtle about it.
yeah. And Flash Gordon too.
Yeah. Also, there's so much you could have gone to that wasn't Apocalypse from X-Men Apocalypse.
Again, I recently rewatched all of the terrible and less terrible Fox X-Men films.
I'm currently pulling
The
up
ones
Oscar
that stick
Isaac's
out are the
IMDb.
bad ones. So it's Apocalypse, it's X-Men Origins Wolverine, which we need more Origins products in Star Wars. I'm going to continue to say that. Also, I can't turn down my light for some reason, so it's making my forehead look really
Code
shiny.
You could have said Moon
code
Knight.
for orgy. It's a code for orgy.
Yeah,
He
Origins.
wants more orgies on screen.
You're the one talking about milk and Yoda. All right.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
I forgot where I was going. Oh yeah, Dark Phoenix is a terrible movie. That's where I was going with that.
Look, I'm just scrolling through Oscar Isaac's IMDb now. Did you know that he was in Sucker Punch?
Yeah, he was the
No.
guy.
I totally,
Look at his mustache.
I totally
Yeah.
forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah.
I've also forgotten a
The
lot of that
movie's
movie.
not good, but also is good.
It's another one where it looks great, but the rest of it sucks. It also makes you feel a little bit bad about watching it
Listen.
every second you watch it.
What you do, turn off the sound, like mute the sound. Just put like any music you like behind it. It's a great music video.
Also,
Okay, I
do
got
you
one more-
Remember that he was cast as Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid movie,
Yes.
and then that's happening.
Here's another one to just because I'm just frustrated with you, Mitch. Is this man is the current voice of Gomez Adams?
Oh,
Yes, he is in the animated movies, right?
Yes. So
That's dope.
Mitch is an idiot. We're all a wreck. And
World class.
Star Wars is fun.
He also starred in a made-for-TV film called Lenny the Wonder Dog, and his character's name was Fart Man.
Love it.
Hey, that's Fartman to you.
Here's my pitch. Maybe we'll finally get it one day. We have to bring it back to pod racing at some point.
Oh yeah, you know where I'm
So
going.
here's
with
my
this.
pitch for you. Are you ready for this?
Okay. Yeah.
Speed racer style show about pod racing.
Like original
Did
Speed
it.
Racer?
Like-
It was Tatooine.
Like
Rhapsody.
I'm talking like original Speed Racer in the way of like how they show the races and stuff. And I guess recent Speed Racer because that's kind of just
Give me
in the
it.
vein of
I know
Speed
the
Did
Racer.
you know
studio.
Oscar Isaac was in Ridley Scott's Robin Hood as Prince John?
I
I
love it.
forgot that Ridley Scott had Robin.
This is a weird episode.
It always is. It always is.
My animation pitch has always been for pod racing. That even though I think the studio is gone now, but the studio that did Redline, to do like a very much like that's the kind of character action, speedster. Like I feel like they really know how to show speed, and I think that they could do such a great job with that narrative. Obviously, I don't think that they're around anymore, but something like that, something akin to that.
See, the first,
I think,
if I had to pick like anybody, and maybe this is just because of I am a fan of the things I am a fan of, and I'm gonna be curious if you can guess what I'm thinking of with this.
for animation,
Yeah, and this is an anime company. It's immediately my brain thinks of Production IG.
what do they do?
So I've
Purely-
never heard of Redline before this. You're talking about
Redline's
the anime
ripped.
that came out
Yeah.
in like 09?
2008, yeah, or 9, yeah.
So it was Madhouse. Madhouse is still around.
Oh, Madhouse is it was. I didn't know. I forgot it was Madhouse.
It was Madhouse.
Yeah. So like Madhouse, what are you doing?
So, in more recently, they did the Ninth Jedi episode of Star Wars Visions.
Oh yes.
But for me, the thing that goes back to my heart is they did Fooly Cooly.
Oh, that would be sick. I would be okay with that. Yeah.
Also, it turns out they did that Pokemon Origins like animated YouTube series, which was awesome.
That was
Yeah.
very good, yeah. I didn't realize Madhouse did Marvel Future Avengers.
Oh yeah, have you watched
Y'all ever
that?
watch Marvel Future Avengers? That
It's weirdly good.
was absolute nonsense, but the animation hit.
It's weirdly good. It doesn't just have any
It
right being as
actually
good as it is.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
It is exactly what it sounds like. It is Avengers anime.
It's Avengers anime.
Oh, like the ones that were on G4 back in the day.
Yeah.
No, this
No.
is like it's a bunch of kids that were raised in like a world that like Hydra controlled or something, and then there was just like, was it the disc things or whatever? They had like the ability to like. summon the
everybody,
Avengers
let's
or
take-
some shit. I don't know.
No, so
It-
it,
Absolutely weird shit.
so it's these three kids who were raised by Hydra to become superheroes to fight the
That's what it
Avengers.
was.
And they essentially get broken out by the Avengers, live with the Avengers, learn all about all their powers and stuff. And it's got a weirdly, it's like weirdly good. This was like 2018 when this came out.
This,
Okay,
this
but
was
it's-
produced to try and get the
Someone-
Japanese audience to care about Marvel.
The show you were thinking
Someone
though
ha-
was Marvel's Disc Wars.
I knew there was some Marvel anime about disc summoning bullshit. Yeah.
Someone had their OC Marvel characters and were just like, I just want 'em to interact.
Absolutely.
Like,
Oh, their names are even funnier to me. It's Hurricane, Charade, Kodak, and Twister. Like,
yeah.
they're extremely generic superhero names. They never
Yeah.
refer to any of them as their superhero name, only by their actual names, and it is genuinely
Beast Wars
hilarious.
was produced by Toei Animation.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm
Toei
gonna
does
add.
a
I'm
lot of
adding
stuff.
future Avengers at this point after this rant to our list, Mitch.
I mean, I'm down to randomly like it's only like one season too.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's like
oh,
20 something episodes though.
Yeah, that's fine. But you still want me to do the fucking Owl House? thing
Owl
at some
House
point.
takes priority over everything.
I know. Yeah.
Anyways, we have long stopped talking about Star Wars, so we might as well wrap up the episode with Star Wars. Keep doing animation. Animation is awesome and fantastic and wonderful.
What are these Beyblade ass looking characters?
Madhouse did Card Captor.
Okay, we'll talk all about this later. Nick, where can people find you?
You can find me, of course, pretty much on every platform at Shocking McPain. Last one spelled like Max Payne, and MC. You know. Yeah, I'm doing edits over at youtube.com/Norza. We'll be going to SGF. We'll probably be at SGF by the time this comes out, or we'll be back from SGF. I don't know when this goes out.
I don't remember all the dates of
Neither
SGF.
do I at this point.
We're doing
If
some
Griffin has
coverage
his
there.
way, it's coming out in like 25 minutes.
Well, okay, like here's what we'll do. I'm going to SGF, and we're gonna be recording stuff for SGF. Or I'm doing stuff for Shadow of the Air Tree because it's past June now.
This goes out on
That's
Tuesday.
out like what, next week?
So we're going to SGF,
Yeah.
and they're gonna be a bunch of SGF content.
Nick does some video games things. It's cool. Go.
Go
Yeah, I
follow
do
that
video
link in the
edits.
description.
Also, little thing I do now if I'm on a podcast, if you can, there is a site called Arab.org. Just one click, sends money to ad money sends money to Palestinians who need help, who need dire help now. It's a free click. You don't have to donate or anything. You can do it once a day. And yeah, free Palestine. So yeah.
Here. Mitch, where can people keep up with us?
I just went and clicked. It was that easy.
It's that easy. Do it with your framed. What I do it with my framed and like any other of those like Wordle or whatever you do. Just do it with that once a day.
Do it while you're taking your morning shit.
Yeah, like literally, it's so easy.
At D plus us on all the platforms. Griffin's all over the place at Griffy Dpad. That's GRIFFIDPAD. My socials are at Mr. Mitch George. That's MR Mitch George in all the places.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for all of our other stuff. We will see y'all soon for the next episode for whatever the hell it is we're recording next. We will.
Acolyte, probably.
I mean, for us, yes, but time is weird when it comes to recording shit. You know this.
There will be at least one episode of The Acolyte after this comes out.
That is
Promise.
probably accurate. We will see y'all in the
What
next
time will this
episode.
come out? Who knows?
Who's to say? We'll see y'all in the next
Tuesday
episode, but
yet?
until then, have a magical day.